My name is Melina Krischka, and I would like to present the topic Air Pollution and the Law. First, I want to talk about the basics, followed by the law and the history of air pollution laws. After this, I will focus on the current situation, air quality objectives, and future actions. I will end with an applied example. The early atmosphere of Earth is believed to have been a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor with trace amounts of hydrogen. The composition of the present atmosphere bears little resemblance to the composition of the early atmosphere. Most of the water vapor that outgassed from the Earth's interior condensed out to the atmosphere to form the oceans. Nitrogen is now the most abundant constitution with 78%, followed by oxygen with 20%. Air pollution is clearly one of the major social problems confronting contemporary American society. Air pollution often involves many sources, the emissions of which can be transported for long distances, and during transport, chemical transformations occur in the atmosphere. The interaction of many chemicals before and during exposure and the limits of scientific knowledge make proving causation difficult. Some pollutants are emitted directly into the atmosphere and are known as primary pollutants. Others are formed in the air as a result of chemical reactions with other pollutants and atmospheric gases. These are known as secondary pollutants. Carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide are examples of primary pollutants, while ozone is an example of secondary pollutant. Some pollutants, such as nitrogen dioxide, are both primary and secondary pollutants. They are both emitted directly into the atmosphere and formed from other pollutants. Now I will talk about legal aspects. The transactional costs of the tort system are high, so only the most severely injured can expect to obtain effective legal representation. Because the time between the release of air pollutants and the manifestation of personal injury can be decades, by the time the tort system responds, massive injuries may have occurred and the potential defendants may no longer be in business. The plaintiff's success depends upon how much importance those who make, apply, and interpret the law attach to control of pollution as well as the technological capability and cost of controlling it. However, since any control through assertion of private rights depends on the willingness and financial ability of individuals to go to court, our population would doubtless suffocate before the problem was sufficiently elevated by private control. Now I will talk about historical facts. Activities of humans account for most of the rapid changes in the trace gases over the past 200 years. As the nation's industrialization gained momentum, the judiciary embraced the concept that the fledgling economy could expand only if the business community was protected from lawsuits by those who were injured. Through their decision, the law of torts changed to limit corporate liability. Additionally, legal defenses made it difficult to win a tort case. Therefore, air pollution was the price of economic growth. Since the Industrial Revolution, levels of airborne and atmospheric particles have increased. The fatal thing about this is that aerosol can affect climate and have been implicated in human sickliness and death rate in urban areas. Therefore, for humans living in polluted areas, the chance of dying from respiratory sufferings between 50 and 70 years is twice as high compared to humans living in non-polluted areas. And by 1960, nearly 0.25% of the US population lived in cities suffering serious air pollution problems. The Clean Air Act was established in 1970 and made major revisions in 1977 and 1990. To protect public health and welfare nationwide, the Clean Air Act requires an Environmental Protection Agency to establish national ambient air quality standards for certain common and widespread pollutants based on the latest science. States are required to adopt enforceable plans to achieve and maintain air quality, meeting the air quality standards. The law calls for new stationary sources, like power plants and factories, to use the best available technology and allows less stringent standards for existing sources. A positive outcome is that actions to implement the Clean Air Act achieve dramatic reduction in air pollution, preventing hundreds of thousands of cases of serious health effects each year. Despite the dramatic progress to date, air pollution continues to threaten Americans' health and welfare. The emergence of the Antarctic ozone hole in the 1980s provided unequivocal evidence of the ability of trace species to perturb the atmosphere. Even today, judicial balancing rarely results in significant equitable relief being granted to plaintiffs. The defendant, by paying damages, effectively obtains the right to pollute. Two main sources of the classical air pollutants are power stations and road transport. As the economy grows, the malfunctions will become more serious. Next to this, the present regulatory system wastes a huge amount of dollars, misdirects resources, stifles innovation, and spawns massive and often counterproductive litigation. One of the first scientific indices adopted by the United States Environmental Protection Agency was the Pollution Standard Index (PSI). In 1999, the EPA replaced the PSI index with Air Quality Index (AQI), which includes two new sub-indices, the ozone at ground level and fine particulate. Providing the public with information about levels of air pollution should be an integral part of any air quality strategy. Such information should be up to date and should include forecasts for the following days so that individuals can take steps to avoid the effects of pollution and to reduce activities that lead to raised levels of pollution. As the population continues to grow and per capita consumption increases, the assimilative capacity of our atmosphere to disperse or modify emissions to avoid creating health or economic systems impacts that are unacceptable will continue to be stressed. In spite of this, the public does not seem willing to accept the pain necessary to achieve additional air quality improvement. A big issue is the combustion of oil production and vehicle fuels. The answer to this will lie in the introduction of new transport policies, the generation of cleaner combustion engines, and the introduction of alternative clean energy sources. Additionally, information on air quality should be made accessible to raise awareness and participation in improving the air quality. In the applied example, the AQI has been applied to the metropolitan city of Catania in order to analyze the level of pollution daily from 2010 to 2014. Through the use of the AQI, it was possible to synthesize in a single day value concentrations of major pollutants in urban areas for the entire period. For the calculation procedure of the AQI, the data concentrations were provided by municipal ecology and environmental office. The air quality is a measure of how the air is free from pollution and harmless if inhalated by humans. The AQI is a dimensionless quantity defined to represent synthetically the overall state of air pollution. The numerical value of the index may fall into 6 classes of judgment of air quality. When the AQI values are below 100, the air quality as a whole is satisfactory and there is no potential interest to public health. When the AQI has a value almost equal to 100, the measured values of the pollutants overall are in accordance with the law. However, when the values of AQI increase above 100, clean air decreases, making it become of interest to the public health. These graphs are showing the results measured at the monitoring station in Greene. The trend of AQI shows a slight increase during the summer, followed by a decline during the winter period. This seasonally is mainly due to high concentrations of ozone pollutant, which is highly sensitive to solar radiation. The greatest contribution to the accumulation of ozone is given also by the low concentration of nitric oxide detected in the agglomeration where the monitoring station is located. The low concentration of nitric oxide reduces the possibility that the typical reactions of the ozone cycle take place, causing its accumulation. The graph B shows the frequency of the category that make up the AQI, calculated for each year. It shows that over the years the conditions of air quality have not undergone any particular changes, except for the year 2014, where technical problems prevented the acquisition of data. The annual rate of the category good on the average is between 85% and 95%, while the annual rate of the category moderate varies between 3% and 6%. For the category unhealthy for sensitive groups, frequencies like to raise concern were not found. This result identifies the category good as dominant. The monitoring station of Via Veneto is placed in an agglomeration where high vehicle traffic is present. In this context, high concentration of nitric oxide are detected while the ozone concentrations tend to assume low values. Most likely, the high nitric oxide concentrations, typical of areas with high traffic, trigger the reaction cycle characteristic of ozone, greatly reducing their concentrations. Conversely, high concentrations of nitrogen dioxide are found, being one of the final products of the ozone cycle. The graph B shows a change of state of the quality of air over the years. The annual frequencies of categories of AQI shows that in 2013 the category moderate prevailed with respect to the category good, respectively 54% against 42%. As for the other years, the category good has prevailed, although with a reduced margin, the category moderate. The category good results as dominant. From the analysis of the data, it was possible to calculate the trends of AQI during the considered period, and to show that the agglomeration in Veneto is more susceptible to possible worsening of the air quality. Knowing in advance the value of the AQI can be useful support for the government, for the system of preventing healthcare, or to prevent the exposure of population groups at particular risk. As a result, I would say that the society is the main factor for avoiding air pollution. Although the government would have to implement regulatories, the attitudes of people have to change if they want to live on a healthy air.